Hello, I'm Elizabeth. And today we explore Trump fired Kristi Noem. Political stories often begin long before they reach national headlines. Both Donald Trump and Kristi Noem have played important roles in recent American conservative politics. Kristi Noem rose to national attention during her time as governor of South Dakota. She became known for her public positions on several high-profile political issues. Meanwhile, Donald Trump continued to shape conversations across American politics. Trump's support or criticism often affects political alliances and public debates. Over time, media reports and political discussions began raising questions about possible tensions between the two figures. Observers started asking whether a political disagreement changed their relationship. As the political season intensified, new reports began appearing across major news outlets. Commentators started discussing possible disagreements between Trump and Kristi Noem. Political analysts quickly began examining the timeline of events. Observers studied statements, interviews, and public appearances. Journalists and experts closely analyzed all available information. Supporters and critics on both sides began sharing different interpretations of the situation. Political discussions spread rapidly across television and social media platforms. As speculation increased, the story attracted attention from a wider national audience. Political controversies often expand quickly once they reach national headlines. At this stage, the central question remains unclear and widely debated. We will continue examining the facts, reactions, and political implications surrounding this controversy. As the discussion spread, political commentators began sharing their analysis of the situation. Analysts tried to understand whether the controversy reflected a deeper political shift. Supporters of both figures quickly voiced their utility across platforms. The growing debate expanded through interviews and public statements. The Sonia lit up with discussions. Journalists also began reviewing past statements and political relationships. Examining earlier political interactions can reveal the roots of modern controversies. Meanwhile, voters across the country followed the story closely. Political stories often attract attention when they involve influential national figures. As the debate continued, many observers began asking what the controversy might mean for future political alliances. The political impact of such moments can sometimes extend far beyond the initial headline. As the story continued developing, political observers began focusing on its possible consequences. Controversies involving national political figures often influence future alliances and strategies. Within political circles, discussions about leadership and influence quickly began to grow. Parties are evaluating such moments. Navigators must balance these forces to maintain their position. For many voters, the situation raised broader questions about leadership and political direction. Moments like these can shape how voters view future elections. Meanwhile, journalists continued gathering information and perspectives from different sources. Careful reporting helps clarify complex political developments over time. This process builds a clearer picture of the events as they unfold. As new discussions emerged, the political story continued evolving in the public eye. Understanding such events requires examining both facts and public reactions. Political controversies often influence how leaders plan their next steps. Public debates can shape the direction of future political campaigns. Analysts also consider how moments like this affect public trust and perception. Voters interpret political events through the lens of transparency and communication. These often become central themes in political responses. Inside political organizations, leaders frequently review such events to understand their impact. Strategy teams evaluate media coverage and public reactions carefully. Meanwhile, journalists continue investigating the timeline of events and statements. The role of investigative reporting is to help the public understand complex political developments. As the conversation continues, many observers look beyond the headlines to the broader political landscape. The long-term impact of political controversies often unfolds gradually over time. As the debate continued, political observers began looking at the broader national context. Political stories often connect with larger discussions about leadership and public expectations. Supporters of different political viewpoints continued sharing their interpretations of the situation. This creates a cycle where debates unfold publicly, with media platforms fueling the discussion. At the same time, analysts reminded audiences that political relationships can evolve over time. She explains that alliances in politics are often influenced by changing priorities and circumstances. For voters watching the situation unfold, the story became part of a larger conversation about the future of American politics. National political debates often shape how citizens think about upcoming elections. By this stage, the discussion had expanded beyond a single headline into a broader political dialogue. Understanding such events requires looking carefully at both facts and political reactions. As the story continued unfolding, analysts began reflecting on how quickly political narratives can develop. Modern media environments allow political stories to spread rapidly across the country. Political leaders often respond carefully when controversies attract national attention. Public communication becomes important, as statements and interviews can shape how the public understands unfolding events. Observers also examined how political relationships influence broader party dynamics. Cooperation and disagreement both play roles in shaping political movements. For many citizens, the discussion became part of a wider debate about leadership and accountability. Voters often look closely at how leaders respond during moments of controversy. It's a key part of public engagement. Attention remained focused on the story. The political conversation continued evolving. Understanding complex political events requires examining both context and perspective. As the discussion continued, analysts began reflecting on how political controversies influence long-term public narratives. She explains that media coverage often shapes how events are remembered over time. Within political circles, conversations often shift from immediate reactions to long-term strategy. Leaders frequently evaluate how events may affect future campaigns and alliances. This is a crucial part of the process. For many observers, the situation highlighted the complexity of modern political communication. Digital platforms allow political debates to reach national audiences within minutes. At the same time, voters continued forming their own opinions as new information emerged. Citizens often rely on multiple sources to understand developing political stories. By this point, the story had become part of a broader national conversation about leadership and influence. Political events often reveal deeper questions about how leadership shapes public debate. As the national discussion continued, analysts began reflecting on what this moment reveals about modern political dynamics. Political influence today is shaped not only by leadership, but also by media attention and public perception. Observers also examined how political relationships can shift over time. Partnerships in politics often evolve as priorities and circumstances change. This is evident in recent strategy discussions. For many voters, the situation became a reminder of how quickly political narratives can develop. Digital media allows stories to spread nationwide within hours. At the same time, journalists continued analyzing the broader implications of the controversy. Examining context helps audiences understand the deeper meaning behind political headlines. As the documentary approaches its conclusion, the larger picture begins to come into focus. Political events often reflect wider questions about leadership, influence, and public trust. As the story settles into public memory, analysts continue examining what it reveals about modern political influence. Moments like this show leadership, media, and public reaction intersect in today's political environment. Across the country, voters and commentators continue discussing the meaning behind the controversy. Political events often spark deeper debates about direction and leadership. In many ways, the situation reflects how quickly political narratives can evolve in the modern media age. Digital platforms now shape how stories spread and how public opinion forms. Ultimately, understanding such moments requires careful examination of facts, reactions, and context. Political controversies often reveal broader insights about the systems that shape public life. The question that began this documentary reflects a larger story about politics, perception, and influence. Understanding these events helps us better understand the evolving landscape of modern American politics. If you would like to see the next documentary exploring another important political story, share your suggestions in the comments below. Subscribe so you don't miss future documentaries and investigations.